I wouldn't do a whole lot more. And the only reason you're copy monitoring levels is really so you can make views from it. That's the biggest thing.
Because there's not a way that we can get warnings about when they change the ceiling height.
Nope.
Which again is 95% of what we do.
Yeah. Yep. If it was walls or floors or columns, we could do it. Or plumbing fixtures. In fact, if you just want to take a look at what you can copy monitor, go into your Collaborate, Copy Monitor, select Link, and go into Options. And you can see in these tabs, levels, grids, columns, walls, floors. Okay, and you should know, ultimately this is what an engineer is doing with your work. If it gets incorporated in architecture or they take your model and they copy monitor, they're setting up things for batch copying here. You'll see there's also coordination settings. If we go down here to lighting fixtures, the copy behavior, they're going to copy probably your original. And they probably will hit allow batch copy. And mapping behavior, they're going to copy your original. So they if they wanted to, they could specify a type mapping to utilize one of their own light fixtures in place of yours to wire to it. But yours are reliable enough; they can wire to it. And ultimately, they'll pull your model in and copy monitor all of your light fixtures out. And they'll do it as a batch. And then that way they can wire to it, because they can't wire to a linked model. Similarly. So my apologies, going back to LPD, we've demonstrated how it starts to work, but the problem is one of the data parameters is not filling in, so we'll make sure that is working. And we'll kind of shift our thinking, really more thinking about it in terms of wattage, rather than load VA, which is what, and voltages, which is the way that, unfortunately, Revit MEP is thinking. Yeah.
Do we want to have, is it a separate field, or do we want to have, whether it's 120 or 277?
I think we should still be a part of it.
But we don't want to do the VA thing, right?
I don't think so, no.
Because that's going to get us.
Wattage would be beneficial to have in there as an information piece, but not necessarily part of calculating the load of a fixture, because engineers are going to change that anyways for a variety of reasons. It might be helpful for us to see that we were told that this fixture is going to be 277 and that's what it should be, but really our LPD stuff should be relying on the wattage that we input.
Okay.
But I think it's still helpful to have that piece there, because some of our, again, fixture schedule, we might work with the electrical engineer to put that voltage column in there.
Right. Okay.
So
great.
We definitely should hold on to it.
But easily done. I think we can get that working properly. But the nice thing is, we'll do a lot. You'll really tweak it for your liking, but the conditional formatting, saying, hey, if we busted the power budget in a certain space, that it gives you a conditional format. It shows you instantly. At least from I like it, you mentioned, Brandon, from an SD standpoint, okay, how much can we utilize this tool early on for those things, at least for a very schematic, just at least give you a basis to make a simple decision off of. It's probably reliable. And probably for final LPD too, knowing that you're meeting code, you're probably fine. Reutilize it. It's reliable, unlike the lighting calculations in Revit, which I would say are semi-unreliable. I would say most lighting designers would think they're completely unreliable. The LPD stuff is entirely reliable. So let's go. It was nice. We covered budget analysis. Is not something that we did, but we can quickly do that. I have an HLV lighting cost schedule already in there if you want to open it up. Excuse me. Computer's still spinning. So that cost schedule, for some reason my computer is freezing. I'm just going to let it think for a little bit. Sometimes when you're amidst a copy monitor process, it can be hard, especially when it's trying to batch copy things. The cost schedule that's there, you can enter, I believe, a unit cost for each one of those fixtures for any of the types that are in there that I manually input. Okay, what we'll need to do is go into any fixture. In fact, every fixture in Revit carries that cost data with it. So you just have to go edit type. Oh, come on.
I'm going to change this order.
Yeah, we may have to. So if you go to the properties of that schedule, so you actually will have to click on, go find that F1 in your drawing file. Go into the edit type, and then you'll find a field for cost, and those will start to fill in. That start to do it. I don't know what it's the.
It's doing the total
the
cost,
copy monitoring.
the unit cost.
It's doing the total cost, not the unit cost. Okay. So in your available fields, if you do your sorting grouping and you actually itemize every instance, that may allow you to input each one individually. There we go.
So is there any way then to group the instances?
There is. So go to sorting and grouping. And under type mark, hit footer. You're going to want to sort by type mark as your primary one. Take your space and level, change that to
Actually, this.
and then by type mark would be great. Yeah.
A lot of different things. So I still had it.
So what are we saying?
It's interesting, if you itemize every instance, it at least does allow you to change the cost of the individual fixture there. Okay, sort by type mark, and just do totals only, and then hit OK. There we go. Yeah. It's a lot. But is that's making sense. So it's sorting by type mark. That's great.
Yeah, we just need
Right.
we just need like a total count, like unit cost, and then like the grand cost.
Yeah. How can we do unit cost?
Now I have like a 17-page document for 2 picture things.
Yeah. Right. Right. I'm not sure how we can get unit cost in there, only because summary of a row, summarization of a row isn't possible, unfortunately. It can only summarize a column. Cool.
So the only place to assign costs is
To the actual fixture, yeah, exactly. Did you, actually, Robin, that's a good point. So if you just go select that fixture, and you don't itemize every instance, you select that fixture, you can go into its properties, edit the type, and say, that's where its unit cost is defined.
Right.
You know, you can add that to your Excel schedule, unit cost. Maybe that's one way of doing it. That's one disappointing part too, the export out of Revit for a cost summary, it won't recognize that it's currency. That the field type is currency, it just thinks it's generic text. So it's tough, so it doesn't add it properly, unfortunately. But yeah, but isn't that nice? I mean, it does help. And that's great, so you're getting your total number of fixtures.
I put it was
Gotcha. The
It's
space
just
level,
in the
name,
counts.
and number, those aren't reading through. Oh, because they all vary. That's probably why.
No,
Oh, cool, so you're looking at office,
no.
and you have 15 fixtures in there. That's not
Well,
very,
it can't.
obviously, when you have real projects and you're really sorting it now.
Maybe, but either way, right now, it's like,
And you're in a real situation, it will make a lot more sense. You'll suit it to meet your needs. But making sense from at least a theoretical
once they
standpoint. It does work.
question is, can we make it export?
Our blank, it's because we're not itemizing, we're not looking at every space name. Remember how you check itemize every time? So check itemize every instance, or you uncheck itemize every instance?
The one thing we have.
Because there are different spaces, different names, different levels. It leaves that blank because there's so many different kinds.
We just
And in some ways, that may be a field that's not necessary.
Which that's.
You may want to take that column out.
It's just a design tool.
What we should do
Just use it for quantity.
is.
Okay, good lesson too here. My computer looked like it was frozen sometimes. It's thinking about something, just let it do its thing. Normally it will work itself out.
My trick is I always go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Come back and
Yeah.
things tend to work themselves. And if not, I
So we
scream.
used to do
There's not-
budget analysis in Excel.
I just say that would be really
We
cool.
used to do it.
Ultra fast.
Holy, yeah.
For all.
Big sailing
When they
team.
flip into the water, those people
know.
are gonna like
Just glad we're not
die.
them.
Pretty neat.
Because I could
Okay.
feel the breeze coming into the window and it was chilly.
Okay, let's jump to work sharing quickly. Fun. Work sets. I love that. I get that excited about work sets as well too. I mean, it is really fascinating.
I hope
The
you can
fun-
explain these to us. 'Cause,
I
Sure.
have to say, I'm a
I
little,
don't understand.
and I think that this has to do with work sets. I'm a little confused on overall, like, everything that we've done so far, has this been, we haven't been working the model, we've
No.
linked something, but where's the whole, like, sync to central thing coming?
Doesn't exist. It hasn't been enabled in these files, and purposefully so because okay,
There is no central file.
Not for this.
And I would just keep, say this is the file I'm working in, I would just keep opening this file and working in this file, and then unloading my attachments, my Revit
Yeah.
file attachments, and reloading the new attachments.
absolutely. If you can avoid having to use work sets, by all means, do it.
It's exactly, I mean, all the projects that I've done, it's operated just like CAD.
Okay, because I'm just a little, because our last thing was all about
Yeah,
We
making
spent
a
like the
central
first
file.
day creating a central file. I don't remember how to do, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Then creating work sets, then relinquishing the work sets, but then taking the work sets back, but then doing this with the work, and I have no idea anything.
I mean,
And
but I would say
then
that it's some-
saving this file to this place and this file to that place, and you
Yeah.
can't work in this file, but I can work in this.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just like
Or you
beyond.
can work in the same file and the same work set, but not on the same floor.
Yeah, I just was a little.
Which you can is now okay.
and every
by the way.
5 seconds,
We can-
clicking, click to central.
We can get you to the same
central.
floor, everything.
it is something that we need to touch on, because I would love to say that next time you have a biogen project, granted, hopefully we have a better footing, but being able to grab help from Lindsay and I in Los Angeles, as well as Stacy in New York, and we take a floor, they take a floor, whatever it may be, and get that work done. I mean, that is one of the big selling points
Of doing
Revit.
that, because so
Yes.
I guess my question is, if we're working in the way that we've been working so far, I'm the only one who can be working in this. Brandon and I can't be working
Correct.
on this at the same time right now.
That's the whole issue, because in a
Okay.
Windows computing environment, you can only have the file open in one place. Now, okay, so really, yeah, what's happening? Yeah, let's go basic, because this is a really hard to understand issue. Okay, work sets, it's exactly that. In a Windows computing environment, you can only have it open by one person. The idea with a work set is that you put it out there, it's sitting on the server, and you have that's called your central file. Okay, it's that central piece. Every user goes, opens that file, and creates a local copy on their C drive. It does it automatically. When you go open it, create new local, bump, drops it in your C drive, and it gives you a name, generally with your user after it. It's great. I like it as a safety net. For IT, it's great because if you have a lot of people working on it, if you suddenly go down for some reason or a file is corrupted, you have 4 or 5 copies sitting around the room.
Right.
The way that Revit is working, here's central out here. You have all your users that have a, let's say like a telepathic connection to it. You know, this invisible connection. And every time someone saves or does something, let's say they're adding new content, they're not messing with existing content, they're saving, making new content, they save it in to central. Those changes get populated to that central file. It's updated, and then the other users at will can hit reload latest, and we'll get the newest changes disseminated down to them. Make sense so far?
Yeah, it's Autodesk's answer to a Microsoft. Well, not just Microsoft, but other software manufacturers make similar products. Microsoft makes something called SharePoint,
Okay.
and so SharePoint is a way. It's not just this, but it's one of the applications is in Office. Let's say we are collaborating on a large Excel spreadsheet. You can, using SharePoint, have multiple people open in the spreadsheet, making simultaneous edits. And it's a step beyond because it's live, real time. So you can collaborate with somebody in a document simultaneously.
Wow.
So it's Autodesk's sort of answer to that, but it's provides the safety net, which is nice, and it just the constant syncing and linking is good.
Neat.
It's good.
So it's doing the same things, and obviously it's a hurdle we have to somehow overcome until it really is cloud computing.
Back to a name for
Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say
Collaborating with database.
we have a local saved to our desktop. Say I'm working on floor 2, so Brandon's working on floor 2.
Yep.
What if we
Who
both
takes
save
over?
back to central? Say I save Kurt's, and then he saves second. Does mine get overwritten? Because we're essentially saving that
Yes.
floor, but didn't realize it.
Yes and no, because the funny thing is you're only working in a view. Floor 2 is just a view. And floor 2 doesn't really mean a file. Like in CAD terms, floor 2 would have been a file, but really more so you're working in floor 2, and everything in Revit has an element ID, meaning that if you're in the architecture model and there's a floor, when that floor is created, Revit assigns it an element ID. It's a number. It's many, many, many digits long. And it says, okay, from here on, that is known as this element ID. It's a hidden thing happening behind the scenes. But when someone wants to go work on that floor, element ID is no longer available, that number is no longer available to any other user that's trying to work on it. It's in many ways protected until you're done working on it and you've saved it back to central. Because when you're working on it, when you have it, now we have to get into the concept of checking things out. When it's an easy concept when we're all making new content and dumping it in. It's a harder concept when we're taking content that's existing and we're borrowing elements, which is what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
like what if she does a layout and I do a layout, she saves and then I save.
You'd see both of your layouts
Right.
in the same room.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not a problem. But let's say out here in Central,
Well, it is a problem.
let's say out here in the Central file, you have to. Here's really what it demands, and this is kind of cool. At the same time, is it demands verbal communication within offices. We've seen Revit where, in big offices where, people get moved around depending upon the need for the team at that point in time. We've seen Revit demand that teams now sit together more often.
That's why we need IM.
IM is a great way. It has a
It's
built-in
a very
IM.
popular topic these days.
It has a built-in IM for this exact purpose.
My
Revit
IM is,
does?
Revit does?
Yes.
Yo, Brandon, what are you doing?
Exactly. It says, hey, I need to borrow something. Yeah, what are you doing with that?
Well,
Works.
but if you're working on with a central file, it has
Correct.
an IM.
It has the IM.
Yeah,
Yeah, so what's
that's a very nice extension of the application.
Yeah, and it's nice because it's not annoying with pop-ups. It is saying you can go check your messages when you want to, when it's convenient for you. And you go see that everyone's calling you bad names. No, they're borrowing things.
No, I'm picturing Brandon and I IMing each other.
Exactly. The nice thing
Sitting next to
is,
each other.
Any special deliveries needed?
actually, I'll take one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Diet Coke drinker?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So the work set. So the next question is okay, everybody's saved up new content, but two people want to work on the same thing. That's a problem, right? So let's say lighting fixtures. In level 2 of a building, there's up here on Central, there's a lighting fixture layout that's been done. Both of you accidentally go do it. Whoever gets to those lighting fixtures first and touches them takes ownership of it. And because your local file has a connection to the central file, as soon as you touch an object in your local file, it's no longer available. It's no longer available to the other users. They can't touch it. They can see it. They can try to grab it and try to change it, but it'll give you an error saying, sorry, it's checked out by so-and-so user, which is really nice.
Editing rights.
Until you relinquish those editing rights. The problem being is, let's say you forget to relinquish editing rights and you go home for the day. You go on
Sounds familiar.
you go on a vacation to Kenya.
You get hit by a van. Oh.
We never say that one.
Or
Poor
or
Robin.
you get sick, or the many things you
Yeah.
you decide whatever you. I
Leave
don't
for a
know.
meeting.
Well, I mean, I
Leave
think
for a
that's why.
meeting, yeah.
There's a series of rules.
If you look at all those, I mean, the concept Revit files that I see from architects on their front page,
Yeah.
and the biggest letters you can see possible is telling people to relinquish their stuff, save it to central, and then relinquish it, or whatever the process is. But yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it's somewhat obnoxious after a little while. You're like, oh, come on, people can get it. Your teams can get it.
Yeah.
This has to become part of your consciousness. So let's just run through this one more time. Here's Central out here. Everybody creates their own individual local file. It has a connection that's happening behind the scenes. It's refreshing about 30 times a second on one who's touching what. So it's very unlikely that two people could accidentally get the same thing. It's actually pretty much impossible. Okay, so that's a good thing. So it's very easy from a concept standpoint if you're saving new material in, right? Because everyone's just adding new material. But if you're borrowing materials out, that's what we have to talk about. So how do you break up a model? Really? What does it come down to? It's called a work set. A work set is that manageable piece. It's almost like checking out a library book. let's equate it. Actually, I like to equate it to encyclopedias. No one remembers what they are because I haven't handled one in 20 years. But you know, with Wikipedia's help. But you know, it was like a volume of encyclopedias. Imagine the entire volume being the Revit model. But if you want to pull out a certain section and go read it and sit down and read it, you can, and no one else can read it, of course. But when you go put it back, then you have the complete model there.
So do we assign things to those work sets?
Yes, entirely. And it's funny, work sets can become somewhat like layers. Individual users may have their own work sets. If you
Things belong to multiple work sets?
they can. Oh, no. Actually, they cannot. They all have to belong only to one work set. You can control views and visibility with work sets.
So you can make it, can you make it, for instance, where, say you have a level 2 and you can't see anything but level 2, so nobody else can be working on level 2?
No. The funny thing about when you enable work sets, levels and grids and things like that are known as like system work sets. They can't be filtered in the same ways, which is good because they're available to everyone, right?
Yeah, I don't care if you can see it, you know.
I don't care if you can see it, I just, to prevent, for instance, you doing level 2 reading.
Typically,
Obviously,
that's how we would
next to each
break it
other.
out. We would break it out, but like depending on the project and how you decide what areas you want it broken out by.
It's not even a problem. You can both be in level 2.
Right.
You can both be in level 2.
Touches it.
Yeah,
I
you
can
just
still
can't.
be in it. I just can't.
You can both be in it. You just can't touch the same objects.
I mean, because didn't you say that you and Bradley were on the same floor and
I think in how Peter explained it, I think what happened was Verna worked on level 2 and made all of the changes necessary, not realizing Bradley was supposed to be on floor 3. I think he was in floor 2, and it was miscommunication. Verna finished, saved, relinquished editing rights. Bradley was still in, not knowing this was going on, made the changes and saved on top of what she'd done. And so everything she did was lost. I think she had relinquished as she finished and gave over her editing rights.
Interesting.
And I think he followed up, not realizing, neither of them realized they were on the same floor.
Weird. Yeah, because we'll do it all. We'll actually go into a new project. We'll all be in the exact same view. And we're all going to save our own content into that same view at the exact same time. And then we're going to go borrow from someone else's
we
content.
fight to see who gets in there first?
Absolutely. This is actually a lot of fun because we see who has the fastest mouse clicking skills, and it's like Jeopardy. Yeah.
I know.
No. But no, it's very.
It was when Barrett, she forgot to relinquish her editing rights. And she wasn't in the office, and Verna couldn't get into the model. So it was what happened at the other time.
And that's a common one. I don't know what could have happened with the other. Maybe he.
It was a doozy of a day.
It was
Here's-
Tuesday today.
Here's what I've heard happening before. Like the situation you're talking about is someone accidentally opens the central file. And so you have all these users out there working on their own.
They're not working on the local file, they're working directly.
Someone accidentally opens Central and they stay in Central and they're working in Central and they end up overwriting everybody's work.
Bad.
Or whatever, yeah, one of them is probably in since.
Yep. They can actually be in the Central and that's where things get messed up. Because when you have the local file going and those element IDs are always staying fresh, there's really no way that two people can grab the same thing. And they can all be in the same view. Because it's about being object-based. Yeah. As long as two users are trying to grab the same element ID objects, they should be okay. Considerably.
That's why I remember projects need to
From
do
the
that.
Biogen project that kind of were like the red flag.
Yeah.
What if that happens? But I mean, to their respect,
She's a different team.
both, even after the information was overwritten, Bradley did jump in, and he did it faster than he did in the first place, and That's the file, so.
Hers is-
Cool.
It's like the worst one, but
Just that project.
on a different project.
We're getting
Yeah.
awfully angelic.
Well, hopefully this will help.
Yeah.
I would really love to, I have some other ways too, as we're demonstrating this, I think it will really become clear. Let me set up, everyone just follow me just on screen.
Should we close?
Close everything.
You mean the project about Revit or just the project?
Let's,
We need Revit.
yeah, keep Revit open.
I think right now it's difficult to reach out to because you know.
Getting awfully angelic over here.
I know, I just.
It's one thing to say what we
Do we need to save it?
So, certainly, if you'd like to keep it.
So if that would happen within somehow 3
I'm just going to do it.
One of those things, I think this one is sort of like Photoshop.
then that means, well, we've been,
I,
in our case, clicked it on.
when that whole thing happened with that project,
You know what I mean?
Bradley went
So
back and like did it so
he's
fast.
talking to me, but it's
it
his
was
team
like-
designing.
So that was alright, but it was just like, oh my god, we're gonna spend like the whole
But
day.
yeah, we don't
I've
really
been in Photoshop once and I kicked the plug of my computer and unplugged it.
No.
And I'm the mindset of I've been in CAD production, so I hadn't saved it. I didn't want this is like in LA, I didn't want my boss to know. So I got back in it and did the whole thing in like an hour and a half, what I'd been working on a whole day. And they were like, so how's it going? I was like, great, almost done. I was just like, and I like had to walk out and I was like,
That's when I call my client. Mike, I just unplugged my computer.
when you spend so much time in CAD though, and you're so used to backup
Yeah.
and like saving, it saves automatically. And you get another program, you're like, I've got a backup, I can just save, like open up, and it's like, no, I'm not the CAD.
See, my problem is I'm the other way in that I constantly save. So when every time it was saving that backup file,
Oh, you had time.
I had, 10, 15 things in there, and I'm like, okay, the server might explode. because I've all of a sudden just compiled like 10 gigs worth of stuff. So, yeah.
Barrett had kicked the her battery backup had
I've
unplugged.
done that.
But it makes the same noise.
As the
tape-
server
the
did,
tape
and for like hours, all we heard was beep.
Like, don't put me in
And we were like, Mike, please
It's like,
fix
make it
this.
stop. My
And he's
head
like,
is going to
there's
explode.
there's not a
It's
problem.
like, I've called Norman. Norman didn't know that you're working today. It's, oh, we're gonna get it fixed. And we're just like, we're going insane with the beep, beep. And then Barrett finally goes,
No, I was like,
Oh,
wait,
you
the beep is over
noticed.
there.
Right.
yeah, and she's like, I kicked my battery back up.
Speaking of beeps,
less
Oh my
than
God.
and various sort of things, I did go over that stack with Brandon.
Oh, good.
So I basically said which stuff needs to be
Shucks.
saved and which needs to be, well,
There's nothing that really can be done.
there's nothing that really should be chucked right
Some
now.
of it's very old, though.
Some of it could, well,
Very, very old.
for another time. Sorry.
Oh, we'll wait for it. Okay, all set?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a brand new file. Everyone just keep stay where you are. To enable work sets, which basically is when you're taking that leap from your, that nice little file that only you can work on to that sharing. You do that by going to your Collaborate tab, or any file when you have it open, and hit Work Sets. Now, a little dialog box pops up that says, note, sharing a project requires careful planning and management. Click OK to enable work sharing or cancel to return your project without enabling work sharing. It is irreversible. So when you make this move, be careful. Actually, I have a method for reversing it, but it's hard to reverse. And by default, it's just going to do 2 basic work sets. I'm going to name these text. Levels and grids are by default. So you let it chug for a moment. Because it's currently separating the project. Where the pop-up that we're going to get is nice because it's going to show us the levels and grids have been moved to their own levels and grids work set, which is, I think of work sets as being like manageable chunks of the model. Okay? Manageable pieces. That one section of the encyclopedia set you want to pull out at a time because A, it's easier to work on. A smaller piece. You can say turn off all other work sets except for just this one section, and that certainly helps. So where we go. This dialog box is an interesting one because there are several things going on. First, I have only 2 work sets. I have levels and grids, and then I have text. It's editable, yes. I'm the owner, yes. It's opened, okay, and it's visible in all views. I'm going to hit, you can also go to these other elements. They're not as critical for right now. Just user created is okay. I'm going to do a new one. Or actually, I'm going to let you all do that one. I'm going to hit OK.
Issue because everybody's signed in with the same name. Except for Revit.
Yes. If everyone's HLBBN.
So we should look over someone's shoulder.
Yeah, let's do it that way.
4 of us.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing.
Thank you for pointing that out. Okay. So,
We can't.
You'll have to come. You should swing over here.
yeah.
Sorry.
So I currently am
One of you
in.
can stay, 'cause one person can be HLB.
He's already.
He's
Oh,
already.
he's HLB. Never mind.
Here, come in.
I currently
Chairs with you.
I'll stay for a bit.
am in the central file. I did a save. And I'm just going to make sure that this is saved to. It's under there is work set training. That's good. If you do a file save as, it gives you the number of backups that you're doing, all those things. We don't need to do that. It's already saved as the central. What I am going to do then, after I've made the central, close it. Okay. I'm closing it saying, okay, this is the first time you're saving the project since work sets were enabled. It's going to become the central file. Like, thanks for letting me know that. That's exactly what I wanted. On large models, you start to load only certain work sets because it's nice. You can actually pare the model down depending on, especially from an architectural model standpoint. You can say, I only want to load up a certain work sets that I'm working on. That's awfully good. So I'm going to go browse. Cancel. Go browse, hit open project, and look at this. I'm going to go browse to that central, but look at when I am in that dialog box, create new local. Okay? You actually don't ever want to open your central file. To be really honest, you would browse to it to make the initial local file, but you don't ever want to really open it. Okay, so we hit create new local.
What's the detach from central?
That's if you ever get into one of those.
Somebody has somebody has breaks.
Correct, yeah, and you have to pretty much
Over.
start over a bit, and you'll find sometimes you'll get into bad situations where that has happened. You have to remake a new central, and everybody needs to remake all of their local files from it. Yeah. It doesn't happen that often. You can also audit from here, by the way, from an IT standpoint. There really isn't a lot you can do for a Revit file. They're generally fairly stable. And you can audit from here in the open dialog box, and you can purge, and that's really all that is in your toolbox, unfortunately. I'm going to hit open. Okay. look at the file extension and the name. It's an RVT still, but workset training, it gave me underscore user name. Isn't that cool?
Very cool. Now, does it use, that's interesting, so does it use the Windows username, or does it use the username of where, of the, it's hard to explain. So
I think the Windows username.
I would imagine the Windows username.
Yeah.
Right? So there wouldn't have been an issue in this case. Because, well, it would have been an issue only for, well, let me go back one more time. Yeah, administrator is the local user on their computers. But generally speaking, because everybody logs in with their own name, it won't be a problem.
Okay, cool.
Just in this training instance, it's a problem.
You know, it's a genius thing because you get to see who has certain elements checked out. When you go into work sets, it's nice.
So you're saying that if people are logged in locally as administrator, because that's actually the way we used to do things in Windows XP, that would create an issue?
Hey, I think it would. Let's see. When we come, everybody's made their local file. Okay. Go into your Collaborate tab. And look, there's a lot more that's available here. And look at your active work set. There's a drop down. In many ways, you have to think of this in CAD terms as being like a layer manager, because so oftentimes you'll have many work sets in there. It's almost like the layer you're drawing on. Okay. Hit work sets. And I'm going to hit new. And I'm going to call this Peter. I'm going to hit OK. Okay. And you should see, as I hit Save to Central, which is a synchronize with Central right here. Synchronize with Central. There are going to be a few different things that are going to come up as options. I'm going to do another. If you do the drop down for the synchronize now, you don't get that dialog box, and the dialog box really isn't helpful. So I did a quick save to central. Put my active work set on Peter. What you need to do is hit make a new one for each of you. Hit new, just names. Yep. And notice how, look at that, who had ownership and editability of levels and grids and text. You see me on the HHBN, see that? And now that I'm actually not in them, you could take them over after you upload. So hit OK to both of those. And do a quick synchronize with Central. And hit OK to that, Rob.
It's the Novell.
It is the Novell?
If it's HLBVN, then it's the Novell, yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
I don't know where it pulls that parameter from. I mean, it's where you're saving the file on the network. You have, to have a user that has rights.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I just synced up with Central, and I in my work sets. And look at this. I picked up your new work sets that you've created. Okay? That neat?
Right, is editable. Yours is editable here. And yours is edible there.
Correct. Yeah. So, when you are adding new content, it's not a bad idea to just put it on your own work set. We encourage people to actually just work on your own work set. You can copy all those items you're creating into the work set they ultimately need to be on. So you may have lighting level 2 or lighting office lighting, things like that as a work set. You may have common spaces versus specific spaces. You may want to break up the model into whatever makes sense into, think about from a computing standpoint, what's going to be fast loading. You may have back of house versus front of house, all of those types of things as work sets, so you can just break it up different ways. But whatever work set, check this out, when I hover over an item, I get a little puzzle piece. So try to select that HLV is the best, and try to move it, MV. See that? It says what? Your error is saying that you can place a request, but that I have it checked out, right? When you place that request, that's like the IM. Because it's going to send me a message that says, Peter, is there some way that...
It's that on screen there.
Yeah, there we go.
Requested. Oh, cool.
Isn't that cool? So it is. It's, yeah, exactly.
Is there a timestamp? No.
Oh, shoot.
Is there a way to add one, or
No idea. Yeah, maybe so. That would be nice. You'd hate to leave people hanging for hours.
Yeah.
But the reality is you can't touch it, you can't delete it, you can't do anything. Someone else grabbed the work set test piece of text, so you can get to that one first and move it. Now, if I try to grab that,
Ooh, but it moved.
That's because he did.
Yeah.
MV, I can't do it. Yep. So that's that link
Place a request.
back
Oh,
to
okay.
Central. Yep.
So, but what prevents, if this was a lighting instance,
Okay.
what prevents, again, Brandon putting lights on level 2 and Robin putting lights on level 2?
Nothing.
Putting lights, nothing.
That's what-
It's
okay.
only existing.
So then at the end of the day, we realized we put it all in there, we're like, oh crap, we both did this.
Yep.
You'd
Some
have double,
master person has to go through and delete the ones we don't want.
but you just
Right.
have double. You'd have 2 lights on top of each
You have two lights on top of each
That's
other.
assuming you guys designed
I will
this.
only do that every
Yeah.
So here's a question. As far as auditing is concerned, is there an audit trail for any requests, changes, whatever on a central file? So that you can maybe review a log and say, okay, well this, maybe or will that pop-up requesting access, for instance, always be there until you respond to it?
It will always be there until you respond to it.
Okay.
Yeah. For
But
better or
I
worse.
guess when a project is completed, then is there an audit log of activity on a file? Who requested? Who had their hands in it?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'd really like to know that as well.
Or is there like maybe there's an option that you could toggle audit logging or something,
Yeah.
so that anytime somebody works on it, you could know.
Yeah.
And here's an unfortunate question, but let's say a team member was doing some unscrupulous things, and we had to let them go,
Yeah.
and we can't rely on their work.
Right.
We don't necessarily know what they changed, let's say. We can go into an audit log and say, okay, here's all the pieces that they had at these dates and times. I don't know if it's got that level of logging.
I don't think it does, although it is creating these journal files. That's something I would really like to know more about as well. I don't know, honestly.
Through Big Brother testing.
But it's a very valid point. That's a great point.
Yeah, because anytime that you're working on a piece of software where there's a collaborative effort, you really would like to have, a log of activity. And maybe there's actually just a regular Revit log that I'm not aware of, because I'm not familiar enough with the program, that tracks activity. But because that file is a central file on the server, is that, if in that directory where that file is, are there any other files that get generated with it, or directory structure, or it's just simply that Revit file?
Just simply, so that central file will have 20 Rogan backups by default until you change that.
Okay.
So you'll have 20. Do some research on journal files, because that journal file for the individual user, that may contain some more of that information that you're looking for. But in terms of tracking,
There's no options in the menus or anything like that you're aware of?
not that I'm aware of. No.
I mean, maybe just, not really important to us, but I could just think of, some reasons to have it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good reasons to have it. I would love to look into that a bit more. And yeah, I'll do some digging and if you hear anything too.
Yeah.
Because
Again, not being a designer, when I hear some of this lingo and how Revit works in a collaborative fashion, I already immediately think database. So you're accessing portions of the database, you're locking tables in a database, you're relinquishing the tables in the database. Eventually, all the data gets, mainframe idea.
Exactly.
It gets compiled in a database and managed that way. But with databases, traditionally, there's logging that you can enable, disable, you can modify. So I would think it would behoove Autodesk to build something in. If you're a project manager on a Revit project where you have 50 people with their hands in it.
It's kind of like in Word, revision tracking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I would think that there either is something natively built into Revit or there's an add-in that would handle it or something.
Definitely.
Google.
Definitely. There probably is. I did a quick save to central, and the thing that's nice about saving to central, these items, if you want to take a look at what they are, you select them, and you can go into their properties, and you can see what work set they're on. You can quickly change their work set. So let's say you are a user that's doing a lot of things on your own work set with your name. You can grab all the items that you've been working on, like with a crossing window, select them all, and just change their work set in one quick
So I
shot.
sync to central and I now
Yep.
overlapping.
Perfect. So what needs to happen now is I need to reload latest. See, and that's cool. Someone else. We'll hit synchronize with central.
So moving from like grabbing and moving to a work set, now how does that work with editing rights? If say that work set's open, you wouldn't be able to move it over, or you would?
If that work set's open, you would not be able to move it over. That's correct.
Now, why was I able to move something in work set text when that work set's not editable by me?
Because if no one has that work set, that whole work set checked out, you can click on individual items within that work set, and if no one else has it checked out, you can go do it. What's cool is when you do a save to central, any items that you've checked out just by touching them, you automatically relinquish control of them for other team members. So synchronizing to central is doing that frequently relinquishes your control of that. So if I go check out text right now, if I go into my work sets dialog, and I'm going to see you're a borrower of a piece of it. I'm going to make text my active work set. Someone else, you don't even need to reload. You can just see very soon that text is going to come up as not being editable. And if you close your dialog box and reopen it, you'll see that I should have. See, I'm not a complete owner because Robin has a piece of it. But if Robin didn't have any of it, I know, right? Do a quick save to central.
Is that the same as sync to central?
Yes, save to central, synchronize to central.
Same, same.
Still bothering.
I'm not boring crap. No more.
And
It's just too quick.
just do a relinquish all mine too, quickly from yours. And we should watch your borrowing go away.
I'm not borrowing
She's not
anything
borrowing.
now. You
No.
were just too quick.
Oh, okay.
Mine spun a little longer than yours.
I'm curious about just something I read. Revision cloud,
Yes.
is that sort of in line what we're talking about?
No.
It's different thing.
Different.
Revision clouds are awful.
You don't like them in
No, because they're all one size. It's a big cloud next to a small one, and it's not like in CAD where you just follow your finger and it just goes.
Yeah.
You have to click.
Yep.
Oh, that's
see?
horrible. Who thought that was a good idea?
I actually like it.
That looks like a kindergarten.
You can't just
idea.
make a shape and then make it a vertical.
No.
You can't like convert a polyline?
Nope. Nope.
No.
I
That looks like a
actually,
second grade
I
idea.
really like it
Problem.
because it helps you get around. It helps you get around things that are really tight.
I do not like that.
Yeah. And it's not perfect. It looks like a second grader. But yeah, that's
Well, it's kind of like in CAD. having that
That's me not being- knowing what I'm talking about.
no, it was good too.
When you
Good
type
about
array in 2012, box no longer pops up.
I don't think I ever used it.
So you can also do quick synchronize with central is up here.
All arrays.
Let's just add some fixtures quickly.
It doesn't even matter if you. Nope. Box does not exist anymore. Box is completely on.
I relinquished all mine.
We'll be going to Revit.
I had to go to 12 because I had a file that could only get opened in 12.
We'll do some HLB.
I think a lot of that's because we just had a file that found it was 2012, and so I just went through 2012 and went through everything. But it's
That's-
beyond this week.
That's but opposite. I AutoCAD's gonna be about it.
Yeah.
And just everything.
Here you go.
About 6 months ago. Because I had like days I spent on this cafe. I was like, I can't do this thing's. And I was asking everyone, like, I can't get rid of this weird like shading hatching that when you plot it, the entire thing would just be black.
Yeah.
You couldn't see anything. And finally we realized it was because it was 2012 and you couldn't do things.
Do a quick reload and go to your ceiling plan. There we go. We're all, and notice we were all in the same. We were all in the same view, and we're all in the same view even now. Let's do a quick reload minus. There we go. Cool. Okay. In the ceiling plan, from here, everyone create some content here. Add a the HLB fixtures in the ceiling plan there. Since they're non-hosted, we can just put them in.
I'm sorry, what? I was.
Put a fixture.
Oh.
I guess historically, I'm just trying to demonstrate adding content, maybe.
What do you do to in the command in the just escape or what?
Just escape. Yeah.
This more than I found more than anything is working on keyboard type thing. I have a lot of that right click stuff in CAD and commands with key commands and stuff.
So I'm doing every like I get to the end and I'm like click no that didn't work no that didn't work.
From here, we just can let's all sync to central and see where we ended up.
What's the difference between sync to central and reload latest?
Sync to central automatically reloads latest, which is nice. It's a two-step. It's otherwise a two-step process. Reloading latest, you would do only if you don't want your changes to go up to the central file yet. If you only want to pull down what others have done and not necessarily put your stuff up yet, you can do that. Yeah. There is unfortunately no way to auto-save the central. I think that's something that we were talking about, the auto-save. You can get a reminder to save the central on a certain amount of time. R pull down, options, and then for your notifications, saving the central reminder 1 hour. On a big model, you only want to save probably once an hour because it actually sometimes takes a while. Otherwise, you'll just want to do local saves. And you have to pretty much say, okay, if I did happen to lose some work, what's a manageable amount of time? Just like with CAD. Can I lose 15 minutes worth of work and be okay with it? Or I know none of us like to think in those terms, but it's a good thing to think of it.
I'm getting warnings.
Okay, what did you get?
All it said duplicate markings. I've
Okay.
got actually 3.
That's fine. And that's a good thing that we're
Not getting
thinking about that. That is because each one of us probably have these lighting fixtures as the same mark. That's on Robin's work set, by the way. Check this out. One thing you do want to be conscious of is if you notice that you created them all on a layer, more or less, that you may need to go in, and I don't know if I'll get to them first. You may need to move them to, in this case, a new work set. Collaborate. Let's call it lighting. I can make it and save it. Lighting. Yes. When I get the little puzzle piece with the cross through it, that means someone else has touched it. I'm going to place a request. It should pop up over there for Robin.
Do not approve. I didn't. Oh, there.
Editing request.
Or just there's a button that said yes.
You're able to approve it?
Pull it up.
No.
All it says is like request. What does she have to do?
Oh, she has to
Approve it.
relinquish her rights. Right?
Go to your collaborate tab. Editing requests.
This is the first final one we captured. This is one.
And you can choose to grant or deny.
Still massive, but much smaller. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Oh, this then they hit
I'm
grant.
doing now and converting the second one, but
We'll hit grant.
May not get it completed.
And then we'll click close. And that was nice. She let me borrow it. Look, it's available over here.
So nice of you.
That's so nice.
It's gonna be my response whenever we have to do this. Oh, that was so nice of you. And I'll probably be the jerk that does it.
And then when I don't, you'll be like, yes.
Where are you? Can I give him a 5 o'clock deadline?
No, I'm at home asleep.
So there we are. I was able to, I think we only grabbed one there, but I was able to change, I was able to select that, and I changed the work set that it was sitting on.
Did I not give you all of them?
May not have, but check this out. This is cool. Here, if we go into VG,
My bad.
You are just a jerk.
if you go into VG, now there's a level 4 work set, and for lighting, look at this. In each individual view, we can hide. Look, I hid that work set. It's like turning off a layer.
In the work set tab.
You're right. Yep, exactly. Globally, it's going to say that it shows up. Now, there are some times that you want to make a work set that doesn't show up by default in all views. Let's say you can take a link per se that you always have loaded up. Maybe it's a structural model or something like that. That it's a big chunky model. You don't want it loading in every view, but you occasionally may want to reference it just to know it's there for clash detection, maybe things like that. Few ways to handle it. You can either do it by load, unload, or you can do it by putting it on a work set that's not visible most of the time. Okay? So you basically would do work set, new, and see how this checkbox is visible in all views? You just uncheck that.
How do you assign something to a work set?
How do you assign something to a work set? So I'm going to reload latest just to make sure I get everything. So if I grab a light fixture and over here in my properties, I change it from the current work set it's on, I'm going to change it to lighting. And it happens to be off in this view because I need to update. Work set, lighting. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then I need to go VG, work sets. Okay, is that making sense so far? Fundamentally, I know it's a little hard because it's in kind of a theoretical classroom, but is it demystifying it to some degree? Mm-hmm. Helping?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do some design options. That's not on our list, but I think design options like trying some different layouts in a room.
Okay, I mean, what do we got? We have about a half an hour. I don't know if there was other just general questions.
Yeah, I should take a look. Maybe zooming?
I think actually, well, and the CAD documentation, I don't think it's much. I assume if we just want to put a general question out there, do you just simply import a CAD background and then we can document as we would in Revit, just the Z doesn't matter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Check this out. Well, let's run through that in this file. Point me to, I'm going to link CAD off of my Insert tab. Point me to a good
2011.
11, sure. Do you just want any CAD file?
Oh, you can go to First Republic. It's a small one. It's First Republic. This is the ceiling plan. That's
There we go.
yeah. Which one is it? Yeah.
Do that one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's something that we can do. When you're bringing in a CAD file like this, you probably want to check current view only, and you're linking. You're not importing. It's not becoming native. Current view only means it's not going to show up on every floor plan view. Thankfully, it's just going to be this one. Okay. Colors you can leave. You can preserve them as colors, or you can change them to black and white. Variety of things. It's up to personal taste and preference. If you want to just know that it's a CAD file as opposed to a Revit object, sometimes it helps to leave it in color. You may want to invert it sometimes. A lot of times I do just do black and white for the sake of it. Depending upon who it's coming in from, you can set up import settings based upon a CTV, but it's very labor intensive. Normally you don't have to do it. If they're using AIA standards, oftentimes that is just fine. Well, let's hit open. Notice this, positioning, center to center, shared coordinates, that's all there again. We're just going to do center to center. Link this in. And that's the great thing with the HLV fixtures, you can work on top of a CAD file.
But for a project that is in CAD that we're bringing to Revit, we would want to do auto origin to origin, because then when we then export, that would then translate to the right coordinates for
Dead on, yeah, good point. You'd have 0, 0. Yeah, exactly. That's a good good distinction.
And does this also mean that we can import the different floors all in the same file?
Yes, you can.
So
yeah, because we could just have different levels, right?
You got it. For each level. Yep.
Okay.
For each level, you bring that in. So, say for this bank, I'm going to put this CAD background on its own work set. We'll make a work set called CAD backgrounds. We'll make it visible in all views, sure. We'll hit OK. And select that background. And it's, why is it coming in like that? Editing that type, we're going to change it to a CAD background. Hit OK. And there we are. So at this point, Control Z. First thing you want to do is pin that into place, just like you would a linked Revit file. Hit delete, delete, delete. ceiling plans. And then from there, I don't know why those are coming in like that. You can start placing your fixtures. I'm going to sync with Central quickly. Everyone else can also then hit a... oh, one thing I meant to do is halftone that CAD file. Watch this. Select the CAD file. You can either right-click and hit Override Graphics in View by element, and you can halftone it. Better yet, do it through VG. And we go to Imported Categories. Imported Categories. We find that DWG, and we hit halftone.